The Galactic Council room went quiet as Counselor Zexatera stood up from her crystal seat. Her scales shone bright under the lights of the big dome where more than 300 space groups sent their speakers. "We have made a big mistake," she said, her device changing her clicks and whistles into words everyone could understand. "The humans must be warned." John Miller, the first person from Earth to speak at the council, stood at his stand looking confused. He had only been here for 6 months and was still learning about space politics. His gray suit and blue tie, once thought good for any Earth meeting, now looked plain among the many different life forms around him. "Warned about what?" John asked, his voice echoing in the room. At 53, the former Ohio senator was picked for his calm nature and talking skills. Those skills were being tested now. High Chancellor Krill, a being who breathed methane with 12 arms and eyes that could see many ways at once, leaned forward. "Mr. Miller, we have learned that the Vrexian Empire plans to start talks with Earth. Isn't that good news?" John fixed his glasses. "More friends for Earth means the Vrexians don't want friends," cut in Counselor Nenbax, a group mind living in a floating metal ball. "They want to use you." Just then, the doors to the room burst open. A woman with short blonde hair walked in, her army clothes showing she was someone important. Lieutenant General Samantha Wright, leader of Earth's new Space Defense Force, was not set to come for 2 more weeks. "They're already here," she said, her voice strong and controlled even with the rush of her message. "A Vrexian talk ship entered Earth orbit half an hour ago. They want to speak with our leaders." The room filled with scared voices. Chancellor Krill raised all 12 arms asking for quiet. "How did they get past our tracking net?" asked Counselor Zexatara. Samantha's blue eyes got narrow. "They didn't, they were asked to come." All eyes turned to John, who shook his head in confusion. "Not by me and not by any allowed Earth government." "Then by who?" asked Chancellor Krill. Samantha showed a light picture from her wrist device, showing a man with little hair in a fancy suit shaking hands with a tall, hard-shelled Vrexian. "Harold Gordon, head of Global Technology Enterprises. He has been talking to the Vrexians in private for months." John's face got pale. "Gordon has no right to—" "He has money and power," Samantha cut in. "And that was enough for the Vrexians to think he speaks for Earth." Counselor Nenbax floated closer. "Mr. Miller, General Wright, you must know what this means. The last 3 worlds that started talks with the Vrexians were tricked into proxy wars that ruined their planets. The Vrexians take technology and resources from what's left." John loosened his tie. "What does the Council think we should do?" Chancellor Krill's voice was serious. "Turn down their offers right away. Stop all contact." "That may not be possible," Samantha replied. "Gordon has already welcomed their group to his company building in Seattle." The room went quiet once more. "Then maybe," said Zexatera softly, "it is already too late." 3 days after the Vrexians came, Peter Callahan sat in a dark Seattle bar drinking his second whiskey. At 35, the newswriter had made his name showing company wrongdoing. Tonight, he was waiting for someone who said they had news about Global Technology Enterprises and their space visitors. "Mr. Callahan?" Peter looked up to see a nervous-looking young man. "You must be Nathan," Peter replied. Nathan slid into the booth, looking over his shoulder. "I can't stay long. They're watching everyone who works in the building." "Tell me what you saw," Peter said, turning on the recorder in his pocket. "The aliens, the Vrexians, they don't care about sharing cultures or making trade deals like—" "Mr. Gordon is telling the news." Nathan's voice shook. "They wanted our Army tech details, weapon systems, satellite abilities, defense plans." Peter leaned forward. "And Gordon gave them access?" "Not just access, he's giving them everything." Nathan pulled out a small data drive. "This is a copy of the deal Gordon signed. The Vrexians are offering him only rights to some kind of new energy technology. In trade, Gordon is giving them Army information and saying Earth should take sides in what they're calling a small land fight." Before Peter could answer, the bar's TV switched to breaking news. Harold Gordon's face showed up on screen, standing beside the Vrexian ambassador, a tall, bug-like being with big eyes and clicking mouthparts. "Today marks a historic partnership," Gordon announced. Global Technology Enterprises and the Vrexian Empire have signed a deal that will change Earth's energy system and bring humanity into a new age of wealth. The camera moved to show some government officials in the background, including the defense secretary. That's not possible, Nathan whispered. How did he get the Defense Department to agree so fast? Money talks, Peter said with a grim face. And Gordon has plenty of it. Nathan stood up fast. I need to go. Use what I gave you, but keep my name out of it. After Nathan left, Peter looked at the data drive, thinking about what to do next. His phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Meet me at the observatory. Urgent. SW. 30 minutes. Later, Peter walked into the empty Puget Sound Observatory, finding a woman in regular clothes waiting for him. Lieutenant General Samantha Wright. She introduced herself. I hear you've been asking questions about our visitors. Peter nodded. Carefully. I'm working on a story about Gordon's deal with the Vrexians. It's worse than you think, Samantha said. The small land fight the Vrexians mentioned? It's a full-scale space war against the Etherian Collective, one of the most peaceful groups in the known galaxy. Why would Gordon agree to involve Earth in someone else's war? Samantha's face darkened. Because the Vrexians made him think that Earth would be on the winning side, with all the prizes that comes with it. What Gordon doesn't know is that the Vrexians have made the same promises to at least 3 other growing worlds. You're saying we're being used? Peter figured out. Exactly. The Vrexians don't fight their own wars. They find worlds with army potential but little space experience and turn them into stand-ins. She handed him a tablet showing secret Galactic Council records. These are the last 3 worlds that sided with the Vrexians. All of them are now dead or back to pre-industrial technology. Peter scrolled through the awful images. How do we stop this? That's why I called you. We need to show everyone Gordon's deal before it's too late. But doing it through official channels would cause panic and maybe start diplomatic problems. Samantha's eyes met his. We need a news writer with honesty and bravery. I'll need proof. Strong. Evidence that the public and government can't ignore. Samantha nodded. Ambassador Miller is setting up an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council. We'll get you what you need. As they talked, neither noticed the small drone floating outside. The observatory window, its Vrexian spy technology quietly recording their talk. The headline was on every news site in the world. Leaked, Gordon's secret deal puts Earth in alien war. Peter Callahan's name was under the headline, followed by strong proof of the Vrexian trick, including words from Galactic Council members and past records of Vrexian lies. In his top-floor office, Harold Gordon threw the newspaper across the room. How did this get out? He shouted. His security chief, Frank Wade, stood stiff by the door. We think the leak came from someone in R&D, sir. We're narrowing down who it might be. It doesn't matter now, Gordon said, walking back and forth. The damage is done. The government is already freezing our money and talking about treason charges. He stopped at the window, looking out at the Seattle skyline. Get the Vrexian ambassador on the line. We need their help. Sir, all talk with the Vrexian ship has been blocked by military satellites. Gordon's face got red. Then find another way. At the same time, at the United Nations emergency meeting in New York, Ambassador John Miller spoke to the General Assembly with Lieutenant General Samantha Wright by his side. The Galactic Council has given clear proof of the Vrexian Empire's true plans, John explained. They tricked Mr. Gordon and through him tried to trick Earth itself into being pawns in their fight with the Etherian Collective. The UN Secretary General leaned into her microphone. What can we do, Ambassador? The Council suggests we cut all ties with the Vrexian Empire right away and make a public statement that Earth is neutral in the conflict. Before the Secretary General could answer, an aide rushed in with an urgent message. After reading it, her face turned serious. It seems we may be past the point of solving this with talk, she announced. We just got word that 3 Vrexian warships have entered our solar system. They're saying that Earth has already joined an alliance through Gordon's deal, which they see as legally binding. Samantha stepped forward. Madam Secretary, we need to turn on our planet defense systems right now. Will they be enough? the Secretary General asked quietly. No, Samantha admitted, but the Galactic Council has offered to help. In orbit around Earth, the situation was getting worse fast. The small Earth defense fleet, only 12 military spacecraft with limited fighting abilities, faced the coming Vrexian warships. Commander Amy Douglas of the EDS Defender watched the tactical screen with growing worry. At 42, she had moved from flying fighter jets to commanding Earth's first space defense vessel. Nothing in her training had prepared her for this. Signal from the lead Vrexian ship, reported her communications officer, Kyle Bennett. On screen, Amy ordered. The screen showed a Vrexian military officer different from the diplomats by the red marks on its outer shell. This is Commander Grixistal of the Vrexian Imperial Fleet, the alien announced. By terms of the deal signed, by your representative Harold Gordon, Earth is now protected by the Vrexian Empire. You will lower your defense shields and prepare to receive our guidance teams. Amy's brown eyes narrowed. This is Commander Douglas of Earth Space Defense. We don't recognize that deal. The person you mentioned had no power to commit Earth to any alliance. Your internal political disagreements don't matter, Grixtal replied. The deal exists. You will obey or face the results. The transmission ended suddenly. They're charging weapons, reported the tactical officer. Amy made her decision instantly. All ships defensive formation Alpha. Raise shields and arm weapons, but do not fire unless fired upon. As the Earth vessels moved into position, sensors picked up new ships entering the system, sleek silver craft moving at incredible speeds. Commander, Kyle called out. We're getting a transmission from the new arrivals. The screen changed, to show a human-like figure with pale blue skin and silver eyes. I am Admiral Lucera of the Galactic Council Defense Force, she announced. By authority of the Council, we are here to help Earth against Vrexian aggression. Commander Douglas, please join your fleet with ours. Before Amy could respond, the lead Vrexian warship fired its energy beam hitting one of the Earth vessels. The ship exploded, killing all 50 crew members aboard. All ships return fire, Amy ordered, her voice steady despite the shock. Work with the Council vessels. As the battle started in Earth orbit, the conflict that Earth had tried to avoid had found them anyway. 6 weeks into what was now being called the Sol Defense Crisis, the Galactic Council's emergency session had been running non-stop. Ambassador. John Miller hadn't slept well in days, kept going by stimulants and the knowledge that Earth's fate hung in the balance. The Vrexian blockade has cut off 3 of our colony outposts in the Kuiper Belt, he reported to the gathered council. Their fleet now has more ships than the combined Earth and Council forces in our system. Chancellor Krill's normally bright arms had dulled with tiredness. We have sent all available ships to your system, Ambassador Miller, but the Vrexians expected our response. They've started actions in 4 other sectors at the same time, stretching our forces thin. Then we need a different approach, a new voice announced. All eyes turned to see Lieutenant General Samantha Wright entering with a civilian man, Professor Alan Blackwood, Earth's leading expert on alien biology and cultural adaptation. Chancellor, counselors. Samantha nodded respectfully. Professor Blackwood has been studying the historical records of Vrexian conflicts, and he's found something that may help us. Alan, a glasses-wearing man in his 60s with a neat white beard, turned on the central holographic display. The Vrexians have conquered or destroyed 27 civilizations over the past 3 centuries, he explained. But they've retreated from 3 conflicts. I've analyzed what made those 3 cases different. The display showed data from the 3 successful resistances against Vrexian aggression. In each case, Alan continued, the Vrexians weren't beaten militarily. They withdrew because the cost of winning became too high. These 3 species shared something the Vrexians hadn't met before. They changed their tactics constantly, never fighting the same way twice, and they were willing to give up short-term advantages for long-term victory. Counselor Zexatera leaned forward. Are you suggesting Earth has these same qualities? We call it asymmetric warfare, Samantha explained. It's been a human specialty throughout our history. Smaller forces beating larger ones through adaptation, unpredictability, and sheer determination. The Vrexians rely on prediction algorithms to determine the outcome of conflicts before fully committing their forces. Allen added, they only engage when their models show a high probability of success with acceptable losses. John Miller understood immediately. So we need to make their models fail, show them that the cost of conquering Earth would be too high. Exactly, Samantha confirmed. We need to fight in ways their algorithms can't predict. Chancellor Krill thought about this. What are you suggesting specifically? Operation Wildcard, Samantha replied, bringing up a tactical display. A combined Earth Council operation designed to bring maximum chaos into the conflict. The one thing Vrexian military doctrine can't handle. Back on Earth, in a strong bunker under the Rocky Mountains, President Lynn Carraway faced the hardest decision of her time in office. Before her stood Harold Gordon, brought from his jail cell to provide insights into Vrexian thinking. You understand them better than anyone, the president said, not hiding her dislike. Will this plan work? Gordon, humbled by recent events, nodded slowly. The Vrexians value certainty above all. Their whole empire is built on calculated risks. If you can make Earth look like an incalculable risk, they'll pull back. And we should trust your view. Why exactly? Asked Defense Secretary Greg Martinez. Because I want to live, Gordon replied simply. I've seen what they do to worlds that resist but fail. I was a fool to trust them. President Carraway studied him for a moment, then turned to her military advisors. Begin Operation Wildcard, and may God help us all. In space, the battle took an unexpected turn. Earth vessels began using tactics never seen before. Civilian ships fixed with makeshift weapons attacked Vrexian supply lines, while military vessels used mining equipment to destabilize asteroid fields, creating unpredictable dangers for the Vrexian fleet. Commander Amy Douglas, now coordinating from the combined Earth Council command ship, watched as the unusual strategies created confusion in the Vrexian response. They're hesitating, she noted. Their formations are becoming defensive rather than offensive. Admiral Lasara nodded. Your species fights differently than any I've met. The Vrexians rely on opponents following established military rules. Humans wrote the book on breaking the rules, Amy replied with a grim smile. Especially when our backs are against the wall. As Operation Wildcard unfolded across the solar system, the Vrexian command began to realize that their standard tactics were failing against the unpredictable human responses. Their carefully calculated war had become a chaotic mess, exactly as Earth had planned. On the bridge of the Vrexian command ship, High Commander Rexor watched in growing frustration as another supply convoy was hit by repurposed Earth mining ships. How did they know the convoy route? He demanded of his tactical officer. It was calculated using our most secure algorithms. Unknown, High Commander, the officer replied, mandibles clicking nervously. The humans seem to be ignoring all standard engagement protocols. They're using civilian vessels as weapons platforms, mining explosives as space mines, and communication satellites as decoys. And the Council forces? They appear to be following the humans' lead. They've abandoned their usual battle formations in favor of chaos. Vrexor's compound eyes narrowed. Access the main strategic computer. Run a complete predictive analysis of the conflict. Minutes later, the officer returned, his exoskeleton pale with stress. High Commander, the computer cannot provide a definitive outcome prediction. Too many variables, too much randomness in human tactics. For the first time in his long military career, Vrexor felt something very close to fear. Meanwhile, Lieutenant General Samantha Wright stood in the war room of the underground bunker, surrounded by holographic displays showing the conflict unfolding across the solar system. President Carraway and her cabinet watched intently. The Vrexians are pulling back from Jupiter's moons, Samantha announced. They've lost 3 major warships to our modified mining charges. What about our losses? Asked the president. Significant, but within projected parameters, Samantha replied. More importantly, the Vrexians are becoming increasingly cautious. They're testing each move for traps, which is slowing their response time. Professor Alan Blackwood pointed to a data stream. Their command ship is now surrounded by a defensive screen of smaller vessels. That's new. They never protect their commanders like this unless they're uncertain of victory. So the plan is working? Secretary Martinez asked. It appears so, Samantha confirmed. But we need to increase the unpredictability factor. The Vrexians are adaptive. They'll start to see patterns in our chaos if we don't evolve our tactics. What do you suggest? The president asked. Samantha pulled up a new tactical display. Operation Wildcard Phase 2. We make it personal. In orbit around Mars, a small, unmarked Earth vessel approached the rear guard of the Vrexian fleet. Unlike the larger military ships, this craft was piloted by a single person, Peter Callahan. The journalist had volunteered for this mission, which required someone who could think quickly and unpredictably. Approaching target zone, Peter spoke into his comm. No sign they've detected me yet. Remember, Commander Amy Douglas replied, from the command ship, you only need to deploy the package and get out, don't try to engage. Copy that, Peter replied, though his heart raced with the thrill of being part of the action rather than just reporting on it. His small ship glided between two Vrexian cruisers, its special coating absorbing their sensor scans. In the cargo hold, a simple package waited, a data transmission device containing a message that would be broadcast directly to the Vrexian command ship. In position, Peter whispered, though there was no need for quiet in space. Deploying. Now? He pressed the release and the package floated free, attaching itself to a Vrexian vessel's communication array. Package delivered. Beginning retreat. As Peter turned his ship away, the data package activated. Across the Vrexian fleet, communication systems suddenly received the same message, a complete dossier on High Commander Rexor, including his family compounds on the Vrexian homeworld, his personal financial holdings, and his political rivals within the Empire. Following this was a simple message in the Vrexian language. We know who you are. We know where you live. This is no longer just about Earth. The effect was immediate. The Vrexian command ship went into lockdown, all external communications ceased, and the fleet's coordinated attack pattern fell into disarray. It's working, Amy reported to Samantha. They're pulling their forward elements back to protect the command ship. They've never had an enemy target their leaders personally before, Samantha explained to the president. Their war doctrine is built around abstract strategic goals, not personal threats. We're making this war too personal for their comfort. And too unpredictable for their models, Alan added. Every time they adjust to one of our tactics, we introduce a new variable. In the Vrexian command ship, High Commander Rexor faced a decision unlike any in his career. The humans had somehow accessed his personal data, something that should have been impossible. Worse, they weren't following any known conflict pattern. High Commander, his advisor approached cautiously. The strategic computers are now giving us a probability of defeat at 38%. That's still a 62% chance of victory, Rexor replied. Yes, High Commander, but Vrexian doctrine requires at least an 80% probability before committing to full engagement. This conflict no longer meets Imperial strategic requirements. Rexor's mandibles clicked in frustration. How can one primitive species cause such disruption? They've barely left their own planet. That may be precisely why, High Commander. They have not yet learned the proper way to wage interstellar war. As the Vrexian command struggled with this unprecedented situation, Earth and Council forces pressed their advantage. Small, fast ships harassed Vrexian formations. Mining colonies. On asteroids launched improvised weapons. Even civilian space stations were repurposed to broadcast conflicting signals that confused Vrexian targeting systems. The carefully orchestrated Vrexian invasion was turning into exactly what they feared most, an unpredictable, chaotic engagement. With no clear path to victory. And on Earth, in the underground war room, Samantha Wright smiled grimly as the holographic displays showed Vrexian ships beginning to fall back from their forward positions. They're retreating, she announced. Operation Wildcard is working. But in space, Commander Amy Douglas was more cautious. They're regrouping, not retreating, she told her officers. The real test is still to come. High Commander Vrexor paced on the bridge of his command ship. 3 full cycles had passed since the humans launched their chaotic defense, and the Vrexian fleet was no closer to victory. The latest calculations? He demanded. His science officer approached with caution. Our victory probability has dropped to 29%, High Commander. The humans continue to change tactics faster than our models can adjust. How is this possible? They are a pre-interstellar species with limited technology. That may be their advantage, the science officer suggested. They have not yet learned to fight according to established galactic warfare principles. They improvise. Constantly. Vrexor stopped pacing. Contact the Galactic Council. Request a direct communication channel. Across the solar system, in the combined Earth Council command ship, Commander Amy Douglas received the alert about the Vrexian communication request. They want to talk? She asked, not hiding her surprise. Admiral Lysara, the blue-skinned council. Commander nodded. It appears your Operation Wildcard has had the desired effect. The Vrexians always retreat when faced with unpredictable variables. I'm not sure retreat is the right word yet, Amy cautioned. They still have enough firepower to destroy Earth 10 times over. True, but they won't use it if they can't predict the outcome, Lysara replied. Vrexians are physically incapable of accepting uncertain risks. It goes against their biological programming. Amy studied the tactical display where the Vrexian fleet had formed a defensive sphere rather than the attack formation they had maintained for weeks. Let's not celebrate too early. We should continue our random attack patterns while they're talking. In the Rocky Mountain bunker, President Caraway received the news with careful optimism. They're requesting a council-mediated discussion? Yes, Madam President, Samantha confirmed. The Galactic Council is setting up a neutral communication channel now. What's your assessment, General Wright? They're not surrendering, Samantha said plainly. They're looking for a way to save face while extracting themselves from a situation their algorithms can't solve. Professor Alan Blackwood, who had become a key advisor during the crisis, added, This matches the historical pattern we observed. In previous retreats, the Vrexians always sought diplomatic solutions once their predictive models failed. So what's our play? Asked Secretary Martinez. We continue Operation Wildcard while negotiating, Samantha replied. We can't let them think we're predictable even in talks. President Caraway nodded. Have Ambassador Miller lead the discussion, and bring in someone the Vrexians won't expect. Who did you have in mind? Samantha asked. The president smiled slightly. Peter Callahan, the journalist who started all this. If the Vrexians want unpredictable, let's give them a negotiator who isn't even a diplomat. 2 hours later, in a virtual meeting space created by Galactic Council technology, Ambassador John Miller and Peter Callahan faced the holographic image of High Commander Vrexor. Chancellor Krill of the Council moderated the discussion. The Vrexian Empire wishes to express concern about the methods of warfare employed by Earth forces, Vrexor began formally. Your tactics violate established conventions of interstellar conflict. John Miller kept his expression neutral. Earth is not a signatory to any interstellar warfare conventions, High Commander. We are simply defending our world using the means available to us. Your defense includes targeting personal information of military leaders. Vrexor's mandibles clicked in agitation. This is unprecedented. Peter Callahan, who had been briefed to be as unpredictable as possible, spoke up. So is trying to trick a planet into fighting your war for you. We're just making sure you understand the personal consequences of attacking Earth. Vrexor's compound eyes swiveled toward Peter. You are not a diplomatic representative. Why are you present at these talks? Because humans don't follow your rules, Peter replied with a small smile. Not in battle and not in talking. Get used to it. Chancellor Krill intervened. Perhaps we can focus on potential resolutions to the conflict. The resolution is simple, Vrexor stated. Earth will cease its chaotic attack patterns, and the Vrexian Empire will consider reducing its military presence in the Sol system. John Miller shook his head. Not acceptable. The Vrexian Empire will withdraw all forces from the Sol system and acknowledge Earth's sovereign neutral status in your conflict with the Etherian collective. Those terms are non-negotiable, Peter interrupted. Or we can continue showing you just how creative humans can get when fighting for survival. High Commander Vrexor's image flickered as he turned to consult with advisors off-screen. When he returned, his posture had changed subtly. The Vrexian Empire proposes a compromise. We will withdraw our main fleet beyond the orbit of Saturn, maintaining only a diplomatic presence near Earth. In return, you will cease all offensive operations. John and Peter exchanged glances. This was more progress than they had expected. We will consult with our leadership, John replied formally. After the communication ended, Peter turned to John. They're backing down. Partially, John cautioned. But it's a start. The fact that they're willing to pull back most of their fleet shows that Operation Wildcard is working. Back in the bunker when they reported the Vrexian offer, Samantha was skeptical. A diplomatic presence could mean anything from a single ship to a hidden strike force. Agreed, President Caraway said. Counter with full withdrawal, but offer a non-aggression pact. And continue Operation Wildcard? Asked Peter. Absolutely, the president confirmed. In fact, let's escalate it. Show them that we get more unpredictable, not less, when we start winning. As the diplomatic talks continued over the next day, Earth forces launched their most daring operations yet. Small, fast ships performed impossible maneuvers attacking Vrexian vessels from unexpected angles. Civilian communication networks broadcast false battle plans that led Vrexian forces into traps. Earth scientists even managed to hack into Vrexian communication systems, sending conflicting orders to their ships. In orbit around Jupiter, a squadron of Earth defense ships led by Commander Amy Douglas executed a particularly bold move. They appeared to retreat from a Vrexian patrol, then suddenly split into 3 groups, each taking a different path through Jupiter's moons. They're following Group 2, reported Kyle Bennett from his tactical station. Just as we predicted. Good, Amy replied. Spring the trap. As the Vrexian ships followed what they thought was the main Earth force, they flew directly into a field of modified mining explosives hidden in the rings of a small moon. 3 Vrexian vessels were disabled instantly. Message from Admiral Lysera, Kyle announced. The Vrexians are calling for another emergency meeting. They're upgrading their offer. At the next virtual meeting, High Commander Rexor's demeanor had changed noticeably. His usually rigid posture was less certain, his mandibles clicking rapidly in what the human cultural experts identified as extreme stress. The Vrexian Empire proposes a full military withdrawal from the Sol system, he announced without preamble. In return, we request only that the humans share their tactical innovation processes with us. John Miller couldn't hide his surprise. You want us to teach you how to fight like us? Your methods are effective, Rexor admitted. They have value to the Empire. Peter leaned forward. So let me get this straight. You came to conquer us and now you want us to teach you? Not conquer. We sought alliance, Rexor corrected, though everyone knew it was a lie. But your species has demonstrated unique strategic thinking that would benefit both our peoples, Chancellor Krill interjected. This is an unexpected development. Perhaps we should adjourn to consider this proposal. After the meeting, John turned to Peter. They're not just backing down. They're admitting we have something valuable they don't understand. Human unpredictability, Peter said with a smile. Our greatest weakness in peacetime, and our greatest strength in war, John finished. The Galactic Council chamber was silent as the Vrexian High Commander stood before them. For the first time in known history, a senior Vrexian military leader had asked to speak to the full council. The Vrexian Empire formally requests an end to fighting in the Sol system, the commander announced, his mouth parts clicking in what experts knew was extreme discomfort. Chancellor Krill's arms rippled with surprise. You started this conflict, High Commander. What has changed? Our resource planning systems show that defeating Earth would require too many ships compared to the value of the system. The Vrexians' big eyes moved around. Also, human combat methods have proven Hard to predict. Ambassador John Miller exchanged looks with Lieutenant General Samantha Wright. Operation Wildcard had worked. The Vrexians were backing down. "What proof do we have that you won't return once your forces have rested?" John asked. The High Commander's mouth parts clicked, quickly. "We are ready to mark Sol as a no-entry zone forever." Chancellor Krill's translator couldn't quite show the tone of disbelief in his next words. "You're asking us to spare Earth from this war, and all future conflicts? Our prediction models show that long fighting with humans would result in many losses no matter how many more ships we have," the Vrexian admitted. "They do not fight according to normal rules." 2 days later, in the Oval Office, President Caraway signed the Galactic Non-Interference Agreement with Ambassador Miller and people from the Council there. "This is a never-before-seen agreement," John explained to the gathered officials. "No developing world has ever received this level of protection from the Council and major powers." "Including the Vrexians?" asked Secretary Martinez. "Especially the Vrexians," Samantha confirmed. "They've listed Earth as a high-risk engagement zone, basically saying that we're more trouble than we're worth." President Caraway smiled slightly. "I never thought our ability for unusual warfare would become our greatest diplomatic asset." Professor Alan Blackwood, who had been key in developing Operation Wildcard, cleared his throat. "It's more than that, Madam President. The Vrexians pulled back not just because of our tactics, but because of what those tactics showed about humanity." "And what's that, Professor?" the President asked. "That humans are predictably unpredictable," he replied. "Throughout our history, we've consistently shown that when threatened, we'll abandon normal ways, ignore past examples, and make up solutions that more established civilizations would never think of." John Miller nodded in agreement. "The Council members have been talking about this a lot. Several species now view humanity as natural chaos agents in galactic politics, unpredictable enough to make attackers think twice. So our reputation for being troublesome actually saved us," the President thought out loud. "It did more than save us," Samantha added. "It's given us a unique position in galactic politics. We're now seen as valuable allies precisely because we don't think like everyone else." 1 month later, Earth's group at the Galactic Council had grown. John Miller remained as ambassador, but now he was supported by a team of specialists, including Samantha Wright, Alan Blackwood, and, somewhat surprisingly, Peter Callahan, whose investigative skills had proven valuable in understanding space politics. As they entered the council chamber for a regular meeting, John noticed a new respect in how other species' representatives greeted them. "It seems our status has changed," he remarked to Samantha. "Word travels fast," she replied. "The Vrexians have pulled out of 3 other conflicts after checking their prediction models again. They're calling it the human variable, the possibility that other species might copy our unpredictable tactics." Chancellor Krill approached them before the session began. "Ambassador Miller, Lieutenant General Wright, I bring good news. The Council has unanimously approved Earth's application for full membership, centuries ahead of the usual timeline." "That's unexpected," John said carefully. "Not at all," the Chancellor replied, arms moving in what might have been amusement. "The Vrexian Empire has formally requested that Earth participate in all major security discussions moving forward. It seems they believe that if they cannot predict you, they would rather have you where they can see you." As the council session began, John Miller looked around at the hundreds of different species represented. Earth had entered the galactic community in the worst possible way, through conflict, but had emerged stronger than anyone could have predicted. At the back of the chamber, Peter Callahan sat next to Professor Blackwood, taking notes for a book. He was writing about humanity's first interstellar conflict. "You know," Peter said quietly, "none of this would have happened if Harold Gordon hadn't made that deal with the Vrexians." "True," Alan replied, "though I'm not sure he deserves any credit. His greed nearly doomed Earth." "What happened to him anyway?" Peter asked. "Last I heard, he was working with Earth's new Department of Interstellar Relations. His knowledge of Vrexian culture is still valuable despite his crimes." At the front of the chamber, Chancellor Krill was speaking. "The Vrexian High Command sends an unusual formal greeting," he announced. It reads, "We acknowledge the Sol System's right to independence and non-interference. Earth has proven that some worlds are best left to their own devices. A ripple of what translated as laughter moved through the council. John leaned toward Samantha. Is that a compliment or an insult? Samantha smiled. Coming from the Vrexians, definitely both. Later that day, in a private meeting room adjacent to the council chamber, representatives from 12 different species approached Earth's delegation with an unusual request. We wish to establish a learning exchange, said the representative from a crystalline species called the Muldari. Our military strategists would like to study human approaches to problem solving. You want us to teach you how to be unpredictable? John asked, remembering the Vrexians' similar request. Not exactly, the Muldari replied, crystals glowing, in what indicated thoughtfulness. We wish to understand how your species embraces chaos as a strategic element. Most civilizations in the galaxy seek order and predictability. Your comfort with uncertainty is unique. Samantha looked at John. This could be valuable for Earth. We learn their technologies, they learn our strategic thinking. As Earth's representatives discussed the proposal, Peter turned to Alan. 6 months ago, we didn't even know aliens existed. Now they want to learn from us. That's humanity's greatest strength, Alan replied. We're adaptable. When faced with superior technology, we find different advantages. Like embracing chaos, Peter nodded. Like embracing chaos, Alan agreed. As the formal business of the council continued, Earth's representatives settled into their new role in galactic politics, the unpredictable species that had forced one of the most powerful empires in the ICU galaxy to back down with 5 simple words: spare Earth from this war. In the years that followed, humans spread throughout the galaxy not as conquerors or the conquered, but as valued allies whose unique way of thinking brought new perspectives to ancient civilizations. Earth became known as the planet of chaos, thinkers, creative problem solvers, and unpredictable allies. And though many species found humans confusing and sometimes frustrating, one thing became universally understood throughout the galaxy. When it came to humanity, expect the unexpected,